Good day, everyone. Today I have a very amazing piece of vintage equipment to show you. What I have here is one of the earliest portable fluorescent light fixtures ever made, and in my opinion, absolutely, without a question, the coolest fluorescent light fixture I have ever seen or even heard of in my entire life. This is a Browning Outdoorsman Porta-Lamp, portable 12-volt DC powered F15T8 fluorescent light fixture, and it was made in 1966. I found this thing on eBay almost a year ago, and I watched it for that entire period of time until Christmas came along, and then I sent the link to Mom, and she got it for me for Christmas. And I'm really glad I did, and I'm really glad that in that entire almost a year that I was watching this thing that someone else didn't snap it up. Now this video's gonna be kind of weird. You can probably tell I'm in my apartment right now, but parts of this video has been filmed back home. I ran out of time filming this video, so I did it kind of quickly, and I got some information wrong. So, well, I had to come back here, and I don't want to wait until the next time I come home to refilm the parts I need to do. So I'm going to be doing them here. Obviously I've got the fixture here, and I have everything else I need here to finish the video. So all is good. It's just going to be some parts are going to be at home, and other parts are going to be here. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoy. So let's take a look at the box here. Very extremely worn box. This thing's been around the block. It's called the Browning, Outdoorsman Porta-Lamp, a compact portable fluorescent lamp that gives brilliant light for many hours from your car or boat battery. And there's a little drawing of the fixture. That is indeed what it looks like. And we have some dude here preparing some fishing lures. And then on the end here it says Outdoorsman Porta-Lamp, 12-volt DC, Browning Arms Company, St. Louis, Missouri, or Montreal, Quebec, made in the USA, and indeed it is. Browning Arms, still around today. You'll know them for their guns and stuff. Back at the time this was made, they were mostly known for their guns and stuff, but evidently they dabbled a bit in electronic equipment. I don't think they do so today. So let's open this thing up and take a look. Here's what it looks like. It's got a very long cord on it, and it plugs into a cigarette lighter. There it is. So here's what it looks like. You can see the F15T8 fluorescent lamp. It's a pretty nice looking thing. Hunter dark forest or hunter green in color. And it's got an emblem on there. Browning, America's finest sports equipment. Nice long, very long cord on it. And it also came with the original chains, and what you do is you'd hook the chains right here and right here, except this happens to be missing the nut that would go here, and you could hang it up from a ceiling or whatever. They've got hooks on the ends there, so that's pretty nice. So this is a 12-volt power fixture. So what do you suppose what kind of ballast would be in this thing? Well, it only runs on 12 volts, so that leaves a resistive ballast like the Breguet Safari Light has out of the picture. And the Breguet Safari Light, which was another very early portable fluorescent light fixture, that uses a standard preheat resistive ballast because it ran on proprietary high voltage batteries. You know, the voltage from those batteries, 138 volts nominal, allowed you to use a standard preheat system, no electronics required, to step up the voltage. But this thing runs on only 12 volts. So you may figure that it has a definitely very early electronic ballast, a standard electronic ballast to step up the voltage. Now, if we take a look at the switch here, here's the power switch. It's got a little instruction note beside it. Let's read it. It says, to start, press and hold for 3 seconds, longer in cold weather. Well, that sounds to me like this would be a preheat fixture. And indeed it is. This is a preheat fixture. That's pretty darn awesome. A preheat low voltage DC fixture. Super cool. Now, I've already been inside this thing, and I have seen what kind of a ballast it uses. But I'll show you later. For now, let's actually plug this thing in and turn it on. Now the first time I ever tried this thing, I tried it on my Newmar 12 volt linear power supply. It actually blew the fuse. And I put in another fuse, and it blew that fuse too. It turns out that this thing actually draws a lot of current. It draws a normal amount of current when it's normally operating. It draws about 1.5 amps of current. That's well within the Newmar's capabilities. But when you're actually preheating, it draws a lot of current, almost 3 amps. And the Newmar is only rated for 2 amps, so that's why the fuse blew. However, the Newmar is rated for 6 amps surge. And, you know, that darn thing's so overbuilt that it could probably handle 6 amps continuously forever without so much as a problem at all. So what I've done for now is I've stuck a 15 amp fuse in the Newmar. Not a very, not recommended practice, may I say. But, this thing, you know, the amount of current this thing draws, and it's only when it's preheating, no problem at all for the Newmar. So let's plug this in and try it out. Alright, so it's plugged in now. Let's turn it on. It's manual preheat, so we hold the switch for a few seconds and then let go to start. And there it is. Works perfect. Beautiful. This thing's really bright. The lamp, I've actually done the measurements. Lamp current is around 0.23 amps. And that's about 75% of the rated current for an F15T8, which is 0.305 amps. So that's actually pretty decent. The lamp's doing about 11 watts of power. And as a matter of fact, my F15T8 desk lamp here, that only does 0.24 amps. So certainly, for a low voltage powered fixture meant to be run off a 12 volt battery, this powers the lamp very good. Not nearly underdriven enough that I would even consider it underdriven. So let's actually turn the lights out here and see how bright this sucker is. There it is. Here's the room lit with just the Porta-Lamp. It's pretty darn good, I say. Really nice. And whoops. I can actually hold it up to the ceiling. And look at that, functioning as a ceiling light. It actually does pretty good. It's about as bright as probably a little more, probably between a 40 watt and a 60 watt light bulb. That's pretty nice. Let me get a better grip on it here. I'll hold it up even better. Yeah, there it is, lighting the room. The room's very adequately lit by this 12 volt powered light fixture. So there you go. Very nice. So I've told you about the lamp current. I also measured the open circuit voltage, which according to my multimeters is about 106 volts. So that's pretty decent. You don't want too high of an open circuit voltage on a preheat system. And to prove that, I'll turn it off here, and I'll turn it back on, but I won't preheat it enough. And there you go. See, it just glows very dimly. If that was at least a couple hundred volts or so, we'd be able to instant start. So there you go. Well, I say now, I should take this cover off and we can look at the lamp that's inside. So what we can do is, there's a screw here and a screw here, and that lets you take this end cap off, and then you can slide the lens out. Or you can do the same for the other end cap. And here's inside it, and the lamp, quite clearly the original, it's an old General Electric, once we get a focus, F15T8 CW, made in the USA. A nice vintage lamp, and well, I could turn my power supply back on. And it appears that this fixture has not seen a lot of use, because if we power it up here, and the power. For some reason, I thought this video would go on without any hang-ups. My Newmar power supply has suddenly died. I'm seeing 8.5 volts out of the output, and that's open circuit. As soon as you try to draw any current, it goes down to nothing, and the fuse is still good. Ah, geez. I hope I haven't killed that. I can't imagine I have, but I really have no clue. But the show must go on, so now I'm running off my compact Desk Pro power supply. I wish I didn't have to use this because this is a switching power supply, and I'd rather not run a vintage piece of equipment like this on a switching power supply, but oh well. And also, when this thing's preheating, the current it's drawing just barely trips the overcurrent protection on this thing, so sometimes it cuts out when you preheat. But where was I anyway? Let's see if we can start this thing up. Yeah, it's cutting out the power supply. If you can get it preheated, then the power supply will stay on once the lamp starts. Alright, I removed the incandescent light that I used to keep the power supply running. Hopefully that'll give it enough current capacity to start this thing. Ah, looks like it. Ah, jeez. Okay. This video is going downhill real fast. That brings us to another problem with this thing. It does not have very good low voltage tolerance. If you go below 11.5 volts, sometimes it'll struggle to start up, but definitely below 11 volts. This thing has no chance of working at all. The open circuit voltage is too low at that point. That computer power supply only makes 11.8 volts, and when I preheat, it goes down to like 10.5 volts. And the open circuit voltage is too little and the lamp dies. Okay, plan C. I'm now using my Toshiba 15 volt laptop power supply. That thing definitely has the voltage and the current capacity to start this thing. I wish I didn't have to run this thing on such a high voltage, but to be honest, this should be able to tolerate 15 volts no problem. It was meant for use in a car or a boat, and when the engine's running, you're talking 14.5 volts at most, so hopefully there won't be any problem, but let's start it up. Oh yeah, cathodes glow really bright. Like I said, this thing has absolutely no voltage tolerance at all. Any change in voltage gives you quite a significant change in lamp current. Now it's a lot brighter than it was running on 12 volts, and now it's running at 15. I would say lamp current's quite a bit more now, possibly close to the full 0.3 amps. Anyway, where was I getting at? If you look at the lamp here, you'll see that it has hardly any sign of use on it. So that's nice. Kind of odd since the reflector is a little bit yellowed. But perhaps it just sat on a shelf where it saw the sun. Who knows? Now I have my junk modern Indonesian GE daylight lamp in here. That works just fine. Very nice. What I'm actually going to do is, even though this is a nice preheat fixture, which lamps will probably last a lot longer in than modern fixtures that are instant start, I don't think I'll use this nice, possibly unused vintage GE lamp in this fixture. I'm going to save it, and I'll only use it in my like my preheat desk lamps or whatever. So I think I may recruit this nice junk daylight lamp. I think that'll be perfect in this thing. Oh, while I'm here, I should show you. Now, unfortunately, on the eBay listing, this was touted as perfect working. But when I got it, it did not work at all. When I tried it, the lamp wouldn't start. But I was only getting a dim flicker from the lamp. It wouldn't even preheat. And if you look right here, that lamp holder there is broken. By the way, this thing uses standard lamp holders. I think it's on the other side here, but on this lamp holder here on the back, these are actually General Electric lamp holders. It has the GE logo there. So that's nice. These are actually standard lamp holders. So if they ever broke, oh wait, they could be replaced. But yeah, this lamp holder was broken. Now as you can see, it doesn't impede the operation of it. But oddly enough, not only was it broken, and I have the piece that broke off, the lamp was installed in such a way that this metal contact was on the other side of the pin there, so it wasn't actually making contact with the pin. And that's why it wouldn't start. So that was pretty disappointing, but I was thankful that that was all that was wrong, because I feared the worst. I figured something had gone wrong with the ballast. You know, this thing is, gosh, 49, almost 50 years old. Here's the other lamp holder. Maybe I should turn this off. It says General Electric, made in USA. How nice. Alright, back here now. Now we get to see what is by far the coolest, most amazing, and really most technologically remarkable thing about this fixture, and that's the ballast. Now before I show you the ballast, I want you to make note of a couple of things, things which you may or may not have picked up on early in this video. First of all, I'm going to fire this up. I want you to listen to something. You might hear a buzzing there. Sounds like almost like a 60 hertz buzz. Now, if this thing has an electronic ballast, presumably, an electronic ballast usually run on a frequency of several kilohertz, why would this thing be making what sounds like a low frequency around 60 hertz buzz? It's kind of odd. Maybe there's something very wrong with the ballast. That's certainly what my initial thought was. And something else I want you to make note of is earlier in the video when I mentioned how I measured the lamp current and the open circuit voltage and everything. Well, my cheap multimeters aren't capable of measuring high frequency current, so how do you suppose that I was able to measure that stuff? Well, we'll see soon enough. I'm now going to open this fixture up and show you the ballast. So the first step to doing that, this thing's actually really easy to take apart. First step is just removing these two end plates. Once you remove the end plates, the diffuser comes off, lamp can come out, and then I can unplug it because that's probably a good idea. I forgot to do that. Now to get inside the fixture, you gotta remove the nuts that it hangs from, only one in the case of this unit. And then there's 8 screws on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, all 8 screws are out, and this whole middle part of the fixture just completely separates from the outer shell. Now remember, we're thinking early, very early electronic ballast. As a matter of fact, someone on Lighting Gallery has a 12 volt DC cigarette lighter powered fixture, uses an 8-watt lamp that they dated to be from 1963, and that does have an electronic ballast, and it's also preheat. So let's see what we got here. So we just pull the middle channel out here. Alright, it was a bit of a two-handed job, but here you go. I'll just let you take a look at this. What in God's name is this fresh mess? Well, if you're a lighting fanatic, you definitely know what this thing certainly looks like. If you're not, you've at least watched some of my lighting videos, you should see what this looks like. Sure as hell no electronic ballast in here. As a matter of fact, that looks like a magnetic ballast. But how? You know, transformers don't work on DC current. How on earth could this thing have a magnetic ballast? Well, it's true. This thing uses a magnetic ballast. There is no, I'm not lying, there's not even any magic or witchcraft involved. Just beautiful electrical engineering at work here. Beautiful 60s technology. This is indeed a magnetic ballast, but what is this? It looks like a capacitor, but it's not. Now, hold your chuckles when you read the printing on there. It says James Quality Vibrator, 12 volt. This thing uses what is generally known as a vibrator power supply, this whole setup. That is indeed a magnetic ballast. This device is called a vibrator, and it's actually an electromechanical device. What it does, in essence, is it converts the 12 volts DC into AC. Now, it isn't capable of doing that on its own. It actually does that with the help of the transformer, or in this case the ballast, and I'll explain on a fundamental basis how it works. But let's just say right now this converts the 12 volts DC into AC and feeds it into the ballast. This ballast is actually an auto transformer ballast, not just a choke, so it serves two purposes. First, it steps the 12 volts AC up to the open circuit voltage around 105 or 106 volts AC, and then it obviously serves as the ballasting impedance limiting the current to the lamp. Now, I'll explain what this vibrator does. Now, how vibrator power supplies work isn't the focus of this video, so I'll just give you a very basic, very fundamental, and very vague description of what's going on here, enough to give you an idea of how this thing works. Well, first of all, here's basically what an auto transformer ballast looks like. Your input voltage comes in here, and your output voltage, which is higher than the input voltage, at least according to this drawing, comes out here, and that goes to your fluorescent lamp. So that's simply what it would be like if we, say, had 120 volts coming in here, and say 240 volts coming out here to run a large fluorescent lamp. Now here's the inside of our vibrator. Again, very vague, basic description. But how it works is, you've got these two contacts at the side here, and in the middle you've got this reed. This reed, via electromagnetic action, bounces between the two contacts. It connects to them and then it releases and goes to the next one, back and forth. And it does that at a designed frequency. Most vibrators, as does the vibrator used in this fixture, vibrates at a frequency of 110 Hertz. And that's why you hear it buzzing. So that buzzing you hear is at 110 Hertz, and that's almost twice 60 Hertz, which is why it sounds like a 60 Hertz buzz. So here's what the whole circuit looks like. The primary side of the ballast actually has a center tap, and that's connected, I'll assume, straight to positive, because based on what I've read, that's usually how it works. It might be negative, it might work either way. But let's say this center tap is connected straight to the positive of your power supply. Now the moving reed of the vibrator is connected straight to negative. So let's go through the motions here. So let's say when we connect power, sorry for the shadow, the vibrator's reed first moves to this left contact. Well, that left contact connected to this end of the primary side of the transformer. So now this is connected to positive, and this is connected to negative. And then a very short amount of time later, the reed moves over to this contact, which is connected to the bottom side of the primary coil here. So now this middle is still connected to positive, as it always is, but now this end's connected to negative. So back and forth, 110 times a second, negative switches between here and here. And that's how it works. And this action of your negative switching between here and here, that creates the proper excitement and the proper transformer action. Simple as that. Now, let's examine the actual fixture itself here. Here we have this black wire coming from the vibrator that goes straight to power. And then the transformer, or ballast here, this white wire, that goes to the switch, which ultimately goes to the other end of power. And then these other two wires from the vibrator, they go to the end taps of the primary coil. Exactly the same as what I just showed you. Indeed how it works. And then these two wires here are the secondary side. They go straight to the lamp. One right there and one right there. Back before the days of solid state electronics that could create high voltage DC or AC power from low voltage DC power, it was pretty hard to get high voltage power if you were away from mains power. Of course, back when this first became an issue, back in probably the 1920s, not very many residences or businesses or anyone had electric power connected. Consider early radios, for example. Of course, radios at the time used vacuum tubes, and they made battery-powered radios for homes that didn't have electricity connected but still wanted a radio. And such radios ran on specialty high-voltage batteries. Now consider cars. Back in the day, interest was beginning to develop for putting radios in automobiles. Of course, because they required high voltage power, the only way to do that would have been to put one of those big battery powered radios in a car, and that wasn't very feasible. So it was in the 1930s that they came out with the vibrator power supply. Now, interestingly enough, the vibrator actually wasn't developed with the intention of creating high voltage AC current. It was actually developed with the intention of creating high voltage DC current, because all the devices that the vibrator was developed to solve this problem for, they all ran on high voltage DC power, because that's all tubes required. So how it worked was, it worked all the same way, but on the secondary side of the transformer you had a rectifier that would just convert it, the AC current, into high voltage DC. And so the vibrator was perfect for that. It was relatively cheap, reliable, it was small for sure, it was quiet, and so for the next several decades the vibrator was king for if you needed high voltage DC, or, although it wasn't as likely, high voltage AC current from a battery. And so vibrator power supplies remained extremely popular up until the 1960s, when transistors took over. And of course transistors solved that problem in two ways. First of all, you had transistorized radios that could run on low voltage DC current, and second of all, transistors allowed the creation of solid state power supplies which could take low voltage DC and convert it to high voltage DC or AC. And so by probably the late 1960s, the vibrator was pretty much dead. The last record I could see of a vibrator being used in any commercial product was a Heathkit vibrator power supply, which was sold until 1969. And then Heathkit replaced it with a transistorized version. Now, you may look at vibrator power supplies today, I certainly do, as being absolutely beautiful. What a marvel of electrical, and really in a way mechanical, engineering. I think this is so cool how it works. And I would be darn certain that back in the time that this thing was made, a vibrator power supply was cheaper and definitely more reliable than an electronic ballast. But indeed, there is one downside to vibrator power supplies. This is a mechanical device, and it does have a very limited lifespan. The reed bouncing back and forth, the two things that the reed bounces between, they have metal contacts, and of course that constant making and breaking, and there's a little electrical arc every time the reed leaves one of the contacts, so you get a spark there and it wears down the contacts. And yeah, lifespan of a vibrator is actually quite short. One place I read gave a specific number of cycles that a vibrator will last for, and I did some calculations, and basically according to that source, a vibrator will only last 10 days of continuous running, 10 days, and by then the contacts will be wore out, it won't be making electrical contact. So that's quite sad, especially since it means I will not be inclined to run this fixture very often at all. Obviously vibrators are not made anymore. You can find new old stock ones on eBay, and I may do some research. Unfortunately, this James vibrator doesn't have a model number on it. That's not it, because a James vibrator model number starts with J, and it's not on this. So maybe someday I'll be able to find what kind of vibrator it is, and I'll find a new old stock spare on eBay and buy that. Mallory, they were the biggest producers of vibrators, and they actually made a very nice, pretty large vibrator power supply manual showing how they work and what needs to be considered in designing a vibrator power supply. And I'll put a link to that in the description if I remember. If I don't, then you can yell at me. Now, because vintage radios are such a huge hobby today, demand for vibrators has not diminished that much. People who collect vintage radios need them to keep the radios running. And so a solution was presented. People today do make solid-state vibrators. They are electronic devices, you know, a little circuit board about that big, that do exactly what a vibrator does. They just do it electronically instead of mechanically. Now, unfortunately, there's two problems that solid-state vibrators pose in relation to this fixture. First of all, when a mechanical vibrator is running, you have that point where it's in between the two contacts, and so there's no current flowing. But not all solid-state vibrators emulate that. What some of them will do is they'll be running at one polarity and then immediately switch to the other polarity and then immediately switch back and forth between them without that off time. Now, with some radios and other devices, that's not a problem, but with others it is. And according to one very intelligent guy on Lighting Gallery who knows a lot about vibrator power supplies, he says such solid-state vibrators wouldn't work with this fixture because this fixture depends on that off time to create the high voltage kick in the ballast that keeps the fluorescent lamp running. Now, I did find that there are some solid-state vibrators that do emulate that off time, and in fact I found a really cool video on YouTube of a guy who was demonstrating a solid-state vibrator, and he compared it to a mechanical vibrator using an oscilloscope, and the waveform that the two created was nearly exactly the same. So there are some solid-state vibrators that do that, but the same guy on Lighting Gallery has told me that even those probably wouldn't work because their inherent electronic design means that even during the off cycle, some of the components of the vibrator are still drawing a small amount of current, and he said that even that small amount of current that's drawn means that the fluorescent lamp won't work correctly. There needs to be absolutely no current flowing. So that's too bad. Maybe someday I'll get one of those solid state vibrators anyway and try it in this thing. Maybe it'll work, but maybe it won't. So who knows. And of course you've seen it's socketed. Vibrators easy to replace. That's how limited their life was. They were designed to be easy to replace. And there was some foam around here. Here it is right here. I've removed it because as you can see it's disintegrating. I'll get some more foam and glue it on there. Or maybe for now I'll take some toilet paper or whatever and wrap it around there and tape it on. And that'll work just fine. So yeah, this thing is what you hear buzzing when this fixture is running. And if I shake it, oh, you probably can't hear it, but I can definitely feel it. I can feel the reed bouncing back and forth. Now the arcing issue also poses a very dangerous problem for this particular application, this fluorescent light fixture. And I actually made that situation happen earlier in this video. You saw that I basically proved that it was a real preheat circuit by turning it on but not preheating the lamp enough, and so the lamp didn't start, it just glowed dimly. I should never have done that, and I will never do it again, and here's why. Without the fluorescent lamp running, there's nothing to quench the high voltage kickback that the ballast creates. So during that several seconds I had it turned on without the lamp fully running, this vibrator was probably seeing some pretty significant arcing between the contacts as it bounced between them. So yeah, that's a really, really detrimental thing to do, and I certainly won't do it again. So for the same reason, a lamp that's near the end of its life shouldn't be running this fixture either. There, some Kleenex and some tape. That should serve as a nice cushion. I don't know how warm vibrators get, but if they do require decent cooling, I hope this doesn't impede that too much. The reason I'm doing this at all rather than just leaving it as is without the foam is because the lack of decent foam on this was making a difference in the vibration. When I tilted the fixture a certain way, the metal casing of this would vibrate against the metal casing of the fixture body and you'd get a very loud buzz. So hopefully this helps that out. Oh, by the way, I've since been told that the arcing issue is probably the reason why I destroyed my power supply accidentally. Of course, even though the arcing is minimal when a device is designed right, there's still a tiny bit of arcing in the vibrator. In most uses, a vibrator power supply will be running from a battery. Well, when that arcing, causes a small high voltage transient across the battery, it doesn't hurt a battery none, but a power supply, it can hurt it. And what someone told me was basically probably the continuous high voltage arcing probably destroyed a transistor. I did not know linear power supplies even had transistors. I would have guessed that the rectifier blew, but apparently they have transistors in them, so I'll take a look at that. Hopefully it's something simple, whatever it is, a blown transistor or whatever. But yeah, that's probably what happened. Vibrator power supplies were designed to be run from batteries, not from AC adapters or AC to DC power supplies or what have you. A simple way to make this thing a bit more safe to run on a power supply would be to put a nice big fat capacitor, like a 100 microfarad capacitor, across the power supply output, and so that helps smooth out the arcing. Actually, it's not only the arcing, but the motion of the vibrator, because in that time when the vibrator's between the two contacts, there's no current flowing, and then there's current flowing, so it goes off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, and that's not good for power supplies either, so that capacitor helps reduce that as well as the arcing. Now, I was able to find 3 vintage advertisements for the Browning Porta-Lamp on Google Books. This first one is from Mobile Home Journal, 1966. And it says, Browning Porta-Lamp. You can have brilliant, steady fluorescent light wherever you take your trailer or camper. This revolutionary light operates from your car battery, gives the equivalent of 60 watts of incandescent light, and draws less than 2 amperes, half that of an ordinary car dome light. Wow, that's one powerful car dome light that uses 48 watts of power. Product, Porta-Lamp, fluorescent lighting, 12-volt style. Porta-Lamp brings the comfort, economy, and longevity of fluorescent lighting to recreational vehicles, wired directly into the 12-volt power system. It's easily, and then it cuts off there and I can't see the rest. Darn you, Google Books. This next advertisement from Boating, 1966. How can you get bright, economical fluorescent light when you're miles from a power line? The Browning Porta-Lamp. And as you can see, they offered it in several different styles actually. Here we have the standard model, which looks kind of like a shop light. The modern way to light a boat. This revolutionary fluorescent light operates from a boat battery, gives the equivalent of 60 watts of incandescent light, and draws less than 2 amperes, only half that of the blah blah blah. It's the same thing. So efficient, may be used for many hours without running boat for battery recharge. Convenient and absolutely safe. The Porta-Lamp requires no inflammable or separate fuels, generates no heat, consumes no oxygen, nor gives off undesirable fumes. Just press the switch for instant light. No operating or maintenance cost. Its standard 15-watt tube will last for years, and the Porta-Lamp is unconditionally guaranteed for a full year. The standard model, which is this one, available in either 6 or 12-volt units. Equipped with a 20-foot cord and plug for operation from a boat cigarette lighter socket. Hanging chain included for versatile use, or unit may be permanently installed and wired into the boat's electrical system. $19.73 looks like, including fluorescent tube. That comes to around $140 in today's money. Then we have the executive model in satin brass or antique copper. And then we have the President, which looks kind of like mine, but as you can see, it's slightly different in style. President in antique copper, eye-catching designs, ideal for permanent installation for 12-volt DC systems, $20 and some, including tube. See your nearest Browning dealer, camping or marine supply dealer. Right, for complete literature, Browning Arms Company. So there's that one. And then this last one's actually from quite a bit later. Where is it? Right here, Trailer Life, 1971, and it's the latest account that I've been able to find of the Browning Porta-Lamp, so it's quite possible that these were discontinued in 1971, or somewhere around there. Also interestingly, this is advertised as the Browning Transistor Porta-Lamp, so evidently during the Porta-Lamp's life, they did replace the vibrator power supply with an electronic ballast. Low battery drain, up to 20 consecutive hours without noticeable effect. Operates on DC current from standard 12-volt battery. Bright, economical light equivalent to 60-watt incandescent bulb. Uses standard 50-watt fluorescent tube. No radio or TV interference. And it cuts off. Formerly $25.50, now only $8.95 while supplies last. Yeah, so this would have been when it was discontinued, I'm almost sure of it. Because, you know, why else would they discount it that much and say while supply lasts? So 1971 was probably when the Porta-Lamp died. That is all there is to show of the Browning Outdoorsman Porta-Lamp portable 12 volt DC F15T8 fluorescent light fixture from 1966. One last thing I want to say that I haven't remembered to say yet. I have tried, this doesn't fit an F15T12 fluorescent lamp, just an F15T8. This is so cool how it works. It's my introduction to vibrator power supplies. I had no clue, I didn't even know what they were. I'd never heard of them before I got this thing and opened it up and saw what was inside. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that I got this thing. And if you want one of these, you're going to be really hard up. At the time I got this, it was the only one on eBay, and there has not been another one since. So you might be hard up to get one of these. So I'm definitely glad that I got this one. Someone on Lighting Gallery said that this is by far the most remarkable, one of the most remarkable lighting related things that he had ever seen. And he said that you might consider it inappropriate to run this thing today, given how outrageously rare and unique it is in its design, and of course with the nature of a vibrator power supply. If that vibrator goes out, you might have trouble finding another one. Well, I don't believe in letting vintage electronics and stuff sit unused for the rest of eternity, but definitely I will not run this thing nearly as much as I otherwise would had I not known how rare and special it was. In fact, when I'm done this video, I'll put this thing back in its box and put it back up in the closet where I've had it, because I have no use for it here anyway. Maybe dig it out once in a while just to run it for a few minutes. And of course it came with that excellent 1966 vintage GE lamp as well. So yeah, this is one special piece of vintage electronicry, and I'm really glad I have it. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found the whole bit about vibrator power supplies somewhat enlightening. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.